Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, he's publishing a series of YouTube videos to confront all of his Rock Fight critics. It's Justin Hausman!
Do they exist?
I don't know, but Krakauer's doing it, so I thought you'd be doing it.
Oh, he
too.
is? Really?
You don't know about this?
No, I don't know. This is news to me.
Oh, that's to me the dumbest outdoor story of the year.
Oh, wonderful. Let's talk about it.
Krakauer has a critic, this guy Michael Tracy, I think his name is, who's been posting all of these like YouTube videos and like social media posts, like kind of trying to debunk a lot of what Krakauer said in Into Thin Air. Huh. And I guess now Krakauer's pissed, and he's posting like an 8-part YouTube series debunking the debunking.
That's funny. I mean, I don't know how you get to be that level of a writer and still have thin skin. I mean, I think I told you the other day I got a random just like FU email to my personal website inbox. Just for no reason. Did I tell you about that? Yeah, it happens all the time. But like, you just kind of brush it off. I don't know. I've never been one to have a thin skin. Especially, it's like Into Thin Air was hugely successful. He's super rich from it. Like, unless I don't know what he's. I don't even know what the guy's. Maybe the guy has perfectly valid complaints. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a why on all fronts, because I guess there have been things over the years that he has, Krakauer has like either revised his story on or updated or whatever. Plus also it's like we're talking about a story that took place like over 25,000 feet like the entire time in the middle of a blizzard. So there's going to be some probably subjective nature to the recall here. So why are you nitpicking this thing nearly 30 years later? Yeah, 30 years later, Michael Tracy. And then Krakauer, like, just let it go, man. Like, who gives a shit? Like, what are you doing? I
mean, you learn this as a history major, especially in grad school, like I was, where you realize at a certain point that even things that happened 5 minutes ago, no one's going to agree on anymore. Like, like human recollection is a bizarre thing, and it shifts and it moves, and one thing that you were rock solid certain about one day, the next day you might think, is that real? Like, you just don't know, and so it's tough. It is really like tough. I can't imagine writing a story like that where people's lives their final moments are in your hands, right? I don't mean literally like he was on the mountain saving lives. I mean, where you're covering, someone died up here. This is what it was like for them. Yeah, man, that's heavy, and like, the responsibility that takes. And so, you got to be really careful with the facts and stuff. But I mean, people's opinions or people's memories aren't perfect, and every history is just an interpretation, so it's interesting. Now I want to look at this. I'm curious. I'm curious what the guy says he got wrong.
If you go on Krakauer's Instagram, at first I was kind of on board. I'm like, yeah, you go, John. Then the more I started like digging into it, I'm like, I don't have time to listen to like 30-minute like back and forth between you people. Anyway, well, today Justin and I will be talking about some pretty heavy topics come out of the outdoor industry over the last week or so. Before we get to that, I want to remind you guys, if you missed Monday's episode of The Rock Fight, go back. You hear the Monday crew talk about some recent turns that may predict the future health of the outdoor industry, and then come back this Friday to hear my thoughts on this week's Outdoor Market Alliance media event that's going to happen in Denver. It's actually going to be going on when this episode that you're listening to right now drops. That episode on Friday will go up a little later in the day on Friday than it typically does, because I'll just be getting back from the Outdoor Market Alliance event on Thursday night. So that's what's going on the podcast this week. But Justin's got some newsletter things happening, some subscription things going on. What do we got going on, Justin?
Well, you need to subscribe to our newsletter. That's what we got going on. It comes out every Tuesday. People are really enjoying it. You get a lot of exclusive content that you don't get anywhere else. All it takes from you is your email address, which we promise we're not selling to anybody. That's how we're going to send you your newsletter.
Elon can ask, we won't give it to him.
Yeah, we're not going to give it to him. He knows better than to ask us. But yeah, it's a real newsletter, real content. We're not just like, it's not just a roundup of stuff we talked about, though we do a little bit of that. There's real, written content and fun visual content that we produce just for the website. So the only way to get it is to sign up for the newsletter. You can head over to rockfight.co, and when the little ad I guess it's an ad pops up to ask you please to subscribe, you just say, yes, I would like to, and you just click on that. And also, please subscribe and join the Rock Fight by hitting the follow button on whatever podcast app you're listening to us on. As you hear us say and every other podcast host say all the time, it makes a huge, huge difference, as does a 5-star rating from you. So please do that as well. Thank you.
All right, so our top story today, which of course is presented by your hub for ultralight gear, Garage Grown Gear. Head to garagegrowngear.com and check them out, and we'll tell you a little bit more about them and what they have going on in a minute. But our top story also includes a stop into Hausman's house, because as the folks you write for, Justin, a lot, National Parks Traveler, who they've kind of turned from just like a resource for updates about our national parks and a resource for visiting them to a series of updates regarding last week's move by the Trump administration that fired 1,000 National Park Service employees and more than 3,000 National Forest Service employees, among a lot of other government employees. Justin, on Monday this week, you wrote about how the staffing crisis will impact Yosemite's campgrounds, and your colleagues on the site wrote about how the layoffs were executed. That's, again, for nationalparkstraveler.org. Explorers Web did an article about the Denali Search and Rescue Team having been cut in half because of these cuts. So we'll get into the Yosemite piece of it in a minute. But I don't know. I just want to clear out for a second. What are your general thoughts here? Like, what kind of, maybe based off the vibe of what's happening in National Parks Traveler, or just even your own point of view on this, like it's a lot of craziness going on with this presidential administration, but this one obviously hits a little bit closer to home as it pertains to the outdoor industry.
I guess the closest analog I could think of would be when there are government shutdowns or threats of them, and you don't know if parks are going to be open, if they're going to be if they're going to be obviously you can't like close a piece of physical land, right? But like, are the gates going to be down? Is there going to be anybody patrolling anything? All that kind of stuff. That kind of worry and that uncertainty that surrounds the parks when there's even a hint of a government shutdown. It's like that, but times 100, basically, right now, where it is shocking how little the people that run our national parks know right now in terms of what to expect and what's going on. Like they don't have any idea. Like at this point, I mean, the firings took them completely by surprise. The hiring freeze took them completely by surprise. It's very clear that these decisions are just kind of made like on a whim, or maybe not on a whim. Maybe they just roll out their Project 2025 playbook
without thought to the consequence.
Well, right, and like these are complicated systems, and so the last thing that you do is put a hiring freeze out immediately at the point where all national parks are ramping up their seasonal hiring. I mean, like national parks rely on so much on seasonal hiring, and so they don't. Okay, so now they're able to hire some, like 5,000. Great. I should know this. I don't. I'm guessing that's way less than normal, while firing 1,000 people that had been hired in the last year or two. And the way they did that is awful. If you haven't seen the reports, all these people that have worked their whole lives to get their dream job as a park ranger, but because they haven't been there for over 2 years, or I think that's the arbitrary cutoff date, they're all getting the exact same cut and paste email, which says that you don't have the skills and the experience required to have this role.
It's for cause.
Not like, yeah, exactly. It's not like, hey, sorry, we're making cuts. It's just atrocious. So national parks don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going to happen. They have it's impossible to predict and to plan, because tomorrow there could be a new edict that says, you know what, we're not going to have national parks anymore. So, I mean, I guess you just kind of go about your business the way that you normally would, and work with the best that you've got. But the piece I wrote about Yosemite talks about how they've just decided to delay selling any campground reservations for 5 of their most popular campsites or campgrounds. 3 in the valley, and I think 2 are outside the valley. But those things sell out 6 months in advance. And so so it's not only affecting the people that work at these parks, but it's affecting millions of people who make their plans, who are already making summer plans, that don't know where to go, don't know what to do.
Globally too, by the way.
Well, very good point. Geez, you go to Yosemite and it is, it's probably 50-50 people that are from the States and people that aren't. Great point.
The national parks are a big reason why people visit the United States.
Yeah, great point. And so if you are a vendor that makes your money because you're Aramark and you run Yosemite, that's a huge issue for you to deal with. If you are a local deli owner in Mariposa, one of the towns on the way to Yosemite, and 90% of your income probably comes in the summertime as people drive through and get a sandwich on the way to the park. What are you going to do? All these hotels, Airbnbs, all these things that are in these national park gateway communities are freaked out, and justifiably so. So I don't know. I mean, the thing with the government shutdown is you always know that there's going to be a potential save, and then it comes through, and then okay, everything's fine. But I don't know how you plan right now. Yosemite, another Yosemite example. This was supposed to be the first year that they make their reservation system permanent, where you have to have a reservation just to get in the park, and they put that on hold because they just don't know they don't want to piss off the Department of Interior.
Yeah, the uncertainty is really the most troubling thing. Aside from the human costs and the impact to individuals, which is incredibly troubling, and it's just sort of the way in which this is handled, which is terrible. But in terms of, your point, right? If there's a government shutdown, that in the grand scheme of things is it's a bump in the road. It's inconvenient at best. Like, it sucks. I got to put my vacation on hold, whatever. It impacts people's lives, but it's like, okay, at some point, this is a political game. It's going to get worked out and we move on. There's no, like, we're going to do this because of X, Y, and Z, and then we're going to start hiring again or be ready for the summer at national parks in a month. There's just no communication. They're like, no, we're just firing people.
Yeah,
I guess figure it out, national parks. It's like,
that's exactly how it works. And you can't help but notice the parallels at, like, when Musk bought Twitter. They just fired half the staff.
So close. It's the
and we're
same
just
thing.
Like, you can make this work. I mean, the thing that people might not realize is that, again, you can't physically close a national park. You'll close the gates, and you can say that but you can go in there, and people will. We see this all the time. And we saw this during, like, when COVID shut down a lot of parks. Like, people went in there just trashed places. You think that's not going to happen? Like, of course that's going to happen.
Well, not even that. I mean, look, okay, we're talking a lot about Yosemite, and maybe we talk a little bit about Yosemite a little too much but it's our proximity to it, which makes it a great example. But, like, what if a climber gets hurt? What if somebody's up there, like, what if somebody's, like, deep in falls off El Cap and there's a body to recover? I mean, like, it's dark, but it's like there's infrastructure in place for when that shit happens that is going to be impacted by this.
The other thing that's really frustrating, and you can make this case for any of the cuts that are going on federally, is the National Park Service doesn't exist to make a profit. It's not a business. It doesn't need to be run like a business. It's a service, and so there's no reason to make cuts. I mean, it's underfunded as it is, drastically so. Is already understaffed. I've been working at National Parks Traveler for, I don't know, 6 months or 8 months at this point, and long before anybody even thought anything like this would be happening. And, like, a lot of the stuff with the Park Service is still pretty janky. Like, it's hard to get in touch with communications officers. The websites are different for a lot of different parks, and it's just you can tell it's already needs some work, right? And then this on top of it. Holy cow. I just don't know. Like, we were planning on going to Yosemite in hopefully trying to get a site in August at a campground that's been closed for a few years and supposed to reopen. I don't know if we'll even bother. But it's a disaster. I mean, it really is a slow motion disaster. And I don't think people realize how confused and how little the Park Service can really do about it at this point. I mean, nobody knows. I don't even think Doug Burgum knows.
I doubt he does. I mean, he's just being the soldier right now and just doing what he was told to do.
Yeah.
And, like, we all need to make cuts. So these are the cuts he has to make. You mentioned the survey we're running at the beginning, and the early days of that survey for the Here on the Rock Fight. Definitely a few responses of people who like, oh, less political commentary, right?
Well, this isn't even political.
And that's kind of what I want to say is like, now this is where that matters, right? Because it's like they're talking about a topic. If we talk about anything politics-wise with the outdoors, it's usually about how it's bipartisan. It's usually about how like this is not a political topic. This is like, how many times have we said and we've celebrated, oh, the Explore Act, it's a unanimous pass through Congress. It's a both sides of the aisle type of thing. And this is being included. This is something that would have been foreign, like before. Like no one, like we're going to just slash the national parks because everybody appreciates it. This impacts states. This impacts the country. It's an unbelievable rollback of something that is. I mean, it's the crown jewel of America. It's like, yeah, because it's the pride of what we have here.
Yeah.
I mean, same with your experience at Yosemite, Grand Canyon. Go walk around the South Rim. Tell me how many different languages and accents you hear. A lot. Yeah, this is amazing.
Well,
in a bad way.
And to people that don't want to hear about politics, I totally get that. Whether it's because you disagree with ours or because you're just tired of hearing it.
Yeah.
But and in the sense that this is policy, so therefore it is a politics issue. This isn't like an ideological like tirade or anything like that. This is look. These parks are, if you go to national parks, if you recreate outdoors, because it's not just national parks. I mean, obviously, we talked about the Forest Service too. This is going to affect you. It's going to make your experience worse. And there's no reason for it. None. Absolutely none.
So you mentioned, you're looking at your trip to Yosemite. My wife and I just last week, we're talking about, in March, we should go camping in Joshua Tree, right? It's not that far away. And I mean, Joshua Tree, a little different than Yosemite. Honestly, you could stay just outside of Joshua Tree on like BLM land and like go into the park if you want to. But, okay, so let's say we decide to not go to Joshua Tree. And it's like, well, let's go to a state park instead because that's not, you would assume is not going to be as impacted by these cuts. Well, does that mean that there's going to be more stress on the state parks now?
Of course it does.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I'm going to move my trip to Anza Borrego. It's like, well, there's probably like 3 rangers that manage that park because like rarely does anybody go there. Now they're going to be like, oh my God, all these people are showing up. And it's just going to create this kind of like snowball effect.
Well, I should also say there's no, I keep, I think I've mentioned a few times what happens if the parks don't open. There's no reason to believe that will happen unless superintendents just say, look, I can't staff it. Like I can't let people into the valley if I can't staff it. So I don't know, and like what to do about it. I guess call your Congress people. I mean, that's really it. Like,
That's
I
all
don't
you
know
can do
what
right
else,
now.
there's not much else you can do. I mean, they backtracked already. I mean, they allowed. It's not like, here's the thing. It's not like they went in and did like some serious like line by line detailed analysis of the park budget or the Department of Interior's budget and like found real things to actually. No, they just made. We're gonna make blanket cuts for really no reason. And so then they're like, okay, you can hire 5,000 more seasonal employees. Go ahead. That number doesn't come from anything. It's not like they, or, God forbid, maybe it does. Maybe it's some horrifying algorithm, but,
and this is the scariest thing about that is you're right. It was just like, oh, we'll just make the cuts and like, oh, we should roll that back. Okay, we'll roll that back. I mean, same thing happened in the Department of Energy where they all laid off all these like nuclear scientists and it just brought back all a bunch of nuclear energy people, and to think beyond just people working, the more basic jobs of a national park, whether it's campgrounds or cleaning toilets or taking tolls at the entrance. Explorers Web had an article about Denali.
Yeah.
Right? One of the more remote parks, one of the more dangerous parks, all things considered, and they have 12 search and rescue people. That's been cut in half. So now there's going to be 6. Like 6 search and rescue for Denali National Park? Mind-blowing.
Why? I mean, that's the thing. Like, what? So what could those people?
6 were like probationary status.
I know,
guess.
And you're just
and
like,
all those positions are eliminated.
Yeah, you're just like, there's literally no. Surely, at some point. I mean, the thing that's hard right now is that like we're all just like you're just getting hammered with all this stuff. You're like, okay, like unless you've been fired, this hasn't probably really impacted you yet, but it's about to, and we none of us really know like what it's going to be like. And the summer is going to be
up on Denali right now, and you like break your leg, and it's like, wow, we'd like to send someone up.
That's going to happen. People are. I mean, that's going to happen. I mean, that's happening right now. We're on the world with like the cuts to foreign aid. Where people are like, well, sorry, you're dead. You can't get that medicine. I literally don't know what to tell you. And people are dying. So like that's going to happen here. That's going to happen here.
I agree that largely speaking, this is a pragmatic issue, or just a crazy issue, that it is a political issue. But I'm sorry, like this is objectively dumb. Just like this is something that matters to our country in ways that we can't even we don't have the words to articulate what the national parks mean to our country, and even the National Forest Service.
Yeah, all of it. Well, you'd think they'd be pumping them full of money because you can log on national forest land. So
right?
I don't know. Look, if you want to read National Parks Traveler, that's what it's for, right? It's National Parks News, and we've done a really good job. There's nowhere else right now that's this like tuned into what's going on and has the contacts that we do. So if you want to read more about it, just go to the site. There's
it's linked in the show notes.
Okay, great. You'll see tons of pieces about it. And the thing I want everyone to take away from this is there's no one coming to help. Like there's no adult that's about to like snap their fingers and fix this. Like this is a bad situation. I mean, the parks are very confused, rightfully so. Nobody knows what's going to happen, barring some like major change where all of a sudden they're like, you know what? Sorry, that was dumb. And here's all the money back again. Here's all the hirings again. Like nobody knows what to expect. So that's the takeaway here. It's unfortunate.
Well, all of that ranting and frustration was brought to you today by Garage Grown Gear.
We couldn't even make one. Didn't we even make one joke?
No, this is very unlike us.
It's just not.
I don't like this.
It's not a joking matter.
No, there's
nothing to be. There's nothing funny about it.
But we do appreciate the folks at Garage Grown Gear giving us the opportunity to get on our soapbox and rant about that. They've got ultralight down quilts from Hyperlight Mountain. They have an 8-ounce camp chair called the Antimatter chair. You're putting up. Okay, let's talk. It's not jokes, but let's get happy about the fact that the more naming conventions from the brands at Garage Grown Gear. The Antimatter chair. I want I don't even know what it looks like. I want an Antimatter chair. That sounds.
You might
awesome.
not be able to see it if it's antimatter. It's theoretical whether it's there or not. It's there sometimes. It's not. It depends on whether it's being observed.
Right. Did you bring it to camp? I don't know.
I intended to. So in some reality, it's here.
Why is Justin just standing around? Well, he thought he packed his antimatter chair, and he can't sit now. But they have fun new Jolly Gear sun shirt patterns and
also good name.
And new ultralight packs from a New Zealand-based brand called Arn Packs. That's a Daniel. Is he the Daniel over at Arn Packs? He's the founder of that brand.
That's a cool pack brand. We still need to get involved in testing those bad boys out.
I know. They're the ones who have like the extra
front. Yep.
on the extra pockets that go in the front. So that's just to name a few. There's new ultralight backpacking gear arriving each week from the best small brands in the industry. So be sure to check out the latest via the link in the show notes or just head over to garagegrowngear.com to see what's happening over there. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Rockfight Radio. Oh, you got DJ CT back with you spinning the hits, and it's that time because we have another new song from that hit machine, Fitz. And Fitz wants to ask you, why just settle for a smart sock when you can opt for a smarter sock?
You've got a million choices lying on the floor. Thin ones, thick ones, even some you never wore. But there's a sock whose specs rise above the rest. Don't settle for a smart one when the smarter sock is best. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. Fitz is the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the answer to the question of the knit. Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the goal. It's only common sense with 4 different patents. The difference is immense. The Y line's added volume really is legit. To the next level comfort of the fit we call Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. Fitz is the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the answer to the question of the knit. Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. The smarter sock. Fitz. Fitz is the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the answer to the question of the knit. Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz.
And now, back to the show. All right, coming back. We're just going to we have a couple of, just got to lighten the mood around here. We got 3 sort of gear and outdoor related topics to blow through. We're not going to spend too much time on it. Then we'll get into our parting shot. The first one is Snow Peak. This is from a press release by Snow Peak. The renowned Japanese camping brand with a 65-year legacy is proud to introduce Epic Fly Fish, a premium fly fishing brand built on craftsmanship, authenticity, and a deep passion for the sport. So Snow Peak, getting into the fly fishing business. Justin, you are a fly fisher person. We've talked about that on Gear and Beer.
Yes.
Largely speaking, not to turn this into just like a gear review or for you to guess what this could be. I mean, can an outdoor brand really cross over in a category like fish or hunt? Is there an example of that working? I mean, there's plenty of like stuff that is, like QU. I wouldn't go on a mountain and see a lot of people climbing a mountain in QU apparel, right? So like, can fly fishing cross over this way? I mean, Snow Peak might be the kind of brand who could do it, but what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, Patagonia is a great example. I mean, Patagonia makes some of the best fly fishing apparel in the world, And so, partly because Yvon Chouinard is a very dedicated fly fisherman. So, like he probably
founder. It's all about the founder.
Exactly. Probably very involved in the creation of it. He knows what works, knows what doesn't, already has some legitimacy around that. Although it's not like he's like a professional fly fisher, I mean, he's obviously first and foremost known as a climber, but, that's a good example right there. And I do think that there is a certain, it makes sense for Snow Peak in a lot of ways. I mean, the attention to detail, the attention to quality, the attention to like timelessness, all of that, the already expected elevated price point, all of these things I think, make it a much easier road for them. Epic fly rods. The press release is weird. Epic fly rods exist, so I'm guessing it's not like it's not a creation of their own. So what I'm assuming, but it reads that way, doesn't it?
To introduce Epic Fly Fish, is that just the name of their category, or are you saying so? Epic Fly Rods is a different brand? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and it makes it seem as though. I don't know, unless they're going to start making their own rods, also called Epic Fly Rod. Like it's a bit confusing. I'm guessing that they are going to sell Epic Fly rods, probably branded with.
I see. They do a little of that, don't
stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know. Patagonia did that. Like my first Tenkara rod is made by Sage Creek Outfitters, but it has Sage Creek Outfitters on it. I think that's what it's called. But then it's a Patagonia branded rod. So I think it might be something like that. But Snow Peak is definitely going to make their own fly fishing apparel, and they're going to knock that out of the park. I guess the real question is, are people going to buy it? I don't know. I mean, fly fishing is definitely. I'm not as into that culture as I am some of the other things I participate in, but fly fishing is definitely the kind of thing where you gravitate toward particular brands that you know and love, and you're like an Orvis person, you're a Sims person, that kind of a thing. So they may have some trouble like eking into the hardcore fly fishing category.
Yeah.
Their stuff's not going to be cheap though. I mean, their stuff's going to be like the cheapest rod you can get from Epic is like $600-700, you know, and so
plus the Snow Peak markup on that.
Well, yeah, and so like I would guess, you know, waders that are $300-400, you know, they're going to be amazing, but they're going to be expensive. But yeah, I think they can make it work. I'm really interested to see what it is. I mean, everything I've ever had from Snow Peak is fantastic, so it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to me.
All right, well, Snow Peak, you want to send some gear Justin's way? I'm sure
Also,
he'd be happy to test that out.
Fly fishing is huge in Japan, so you know it makes a lot of sense.
All right, one other gear thing we noticed this week, because we talked also in Gear and Beer about your love for the soft topper for your pickup truck.
Yes,
which is a sort of removable and collapsible soft top cab for your pickup truck, as opposed to just getting a hard top on there.
Yeah.
This week I discovered something called the Sawtooth truck bed cover. I know you've also tested the Flated, which is another sort of removable, easy to quote unquote put on, take off sort of.
Yeah,
cover for your pickup.
Really like a temporary shell, really.
Right. So the Sawtooth though looks like more of like a stretchy sort of bed cover.
It's a tonneau
that is
cover.
Also has the ability that you can. It will stretch over things, so it's not like it has to be. It doesn't. Whatever you put in the bed of your truck doesn't have to be level with like the rails or anything like that, right? So, is this real competition for the soft topper? Like, what's your impression of the Flated? Like, where are you with the bed of your pickup truck these days?
So I've always been a big fan of having an open bed. If you're gonna have a pickup, to have an open bed. Otherwise, why have one? And I still feel that way 100%. But I've got, I'm like anybody else. Like you have one time where you're like, crap, I can't bring 2 surfboards to the beach because I can't, then you start figuring out ways to have some sort of like security or privacy for your rig. And then, it used to be your only option was a hard shell for the most part. And so you drop $2-3 on one that never comes off. That's gone there for the rest of the truck's life. I mean, you can take them off, but nobody does that. And now you have basically a really crappy SUV because you can't, you don't have the room that an SUV has inside, and you have a bunch of storage space, but it's awkward. It's hard. I would never have a hard shell on my truck ever again.
Yeah.
So that was why I fell so in love with the soft topper, because it eliminates all of that because you can just push it down and it's gone, and it's not there. And so I've been testing out the Flated, which is like a inflatable camper shell, very much like an inflatable stand-up paddleboard. It feels exactly like that. Very hard. You can stand on the roof. Very durable. Very tough. I've had issues with it fitting on my truck, and I don't know if that's me or the unit itself. Where it just doesn't quite seal the way it's supposed to, and so like it lets a lot of water in, which was kind of my main issue with the soft topper. So I need to play around some more with Flated to see whether or not it's like a keeper for me, but it's a great idea. It's a great call. I think it weighs like 65 pounds so you just like lift it by yourself on and off the bed of the truck.
What's the soft topper weigh?
No time. Probably less because it's just canvas.
Yeah.
But the Flated is cool because you can inflate it. You just pick it up as a giant shell and just put it on your thing. Soft topper does require a little bit more work if you want to take all the rails and stuff off. And you can deflate it and stuff it into like a small bag, which is pretty neat. But the Sawtooth thing is cool. It's a stretchy. I don't never say it out loud. I don't know if people pronounce it tonneau or a tonneau cover, but like the flat cover that goes across the bed of your truck, which is great. But I mean, that obviously only works for things that fit underneath it. So this is a cool idea where they have all these pictures online of people stacking boxes in the back of their truck, and it sort of stretches over it. It looks a little janky to me. Like that's kind of a weird look. I can't fathom that's that durable. I mean, you're just stretching this, whatever the material is, like every single time you use it. But I love the idea. I mean, I really like the idea a lot in terms of it's nice to, if you're going to have a pickup truck driving around with a shell, the visibility is awful. And so at least with something like this, if you have a tonneau cover, you still can see everywhere you want to be able to see. I mean,
and so there's some security. You can put stuff in there and cover it up.
Yeah, you can't see it. None of these are lockable. All of these you just can lift the flap and see what's in there. But I mean, that's definitely, it's enough for where you'll like have all of your camping gear in the back of your truck, and you can pull over somewhere and get a burger and not be like panicked.
Right.
But I just feel like the downsides to having permanent or even difficult to deal with shells far outweigh the benefit of the security and privacy. It's just so nice But I also, it's not like my truck is not my only vehicle. If it was the only thing I had, it might be a little different. But like, you know, we can go camping with the family in our little SUV thing, and so you know, so it's just like, it's just so nice to throw stuff in the back of a truck. I mean, you know how it is. Like having that open bed is fantastic. And again, I don't know why you buy a truck if you're not gonna have an open bed. I mean, just get a burly SUV and have the same capabilities, and you don't have to worry about someone taking stuff out of the back of your truck. But you have, like, if you're putting a shell on, you clearly don't need an open bed. Is the idea. So I just don't know why you'd buy a truck at that point.
All right, so Snow Peak, send your fly fishing gear to Justin. He'll test it.
Yeah.
Sawtooth, send a truck bed cover to Justin. He'll test it. And we'll do the full breakdown between soft topper, flated, and Sawtooth.
Yes.
That'll be a good one.
Yes.
Last sort of quick hitter, apparently down in the Strait of Magellan between Tierra del Fuego and mainland South America, a young man and his father were up paddling, and the father was filming his son out on the waves, and two massive jaws emerged from the water and closed around the little yellow inflatable and its lone passenger. This is via Explorer's Web. Basically, a humpback whale quickly swallowed and then spit out a paddler and they got it on video. If you haven't seen the video, everybody, again, I'll link it in the show notes.
It's insane.
It is nuts.
I've seen close calls before, and when I first saw that this was going around, I assumed it was that. But no, the person disappears entirely. I don't think it really swallows him. It gets him in its mouth. And
they can't swallow that. So they go in the article to say they can't actually physically swallow it. So they would spit it out. But it's just kind of like these other things where like they don't get to the people who are like having these emergency things in the backcountry. I want to hear from the guy and be like, well, what was it like in there?
Well. What's interesting, the first thing I thought of was, okay, so why would it even do that? Like, it knows it can't eat something that big. Like, what is it doing? Like, is that, do they do that to sharks to be like, get out of here? Like, is it like my impression of what whales do now is totally different. I just, like, it tried to bite or fully consume like an 8-foot long kayak and did. So like,
I just watched it again. I mean, it goes away and then he comes up out of the water. So obviously the whale let him go.
Do you think he knew what happened?
That's what you think. It must have been the most confusing moment of this guy's life, right? I mean, just for that moment, like, what the fuck just happened? I'm sitting there paddling along, and now I'm inside a whale's mouth.
Now I'm Jonah.
Like,
yeah. And
Jonah
you know it smells horrid in there.
Maybe not. Maybe they're very hygienic whales.
I've never been close enough for this, but I've read a million times that like if you're close enough to a whale when it exhales to its blowhole, it's like the worst smell in the world.
Oh, really? That's true.
Yeah. Well, they just eat fish, or they don't eat fish. They eat that shrimp. They eat that krill all day. Like they don't brush their teeth, and so it's just heinous. And so I got to think it probably smelled bad in there.
You think like sharks are shaming whales?
He was it wasn't like he was dry. Like he was fully in water. God,
it's insane.
It's insane. I can't, like, I just freaked out just thinking about it. Thank God it spit him back out. Holy smokes. And didn't like dive to 400 feet before it decided to, just like, nah, this is good. Here you go. Because it could have easily just been like, I'm cruising down.
It kind of kept him in there for a while, right? The guy that suffocates,
Oh my God. Well, I guess he needs to be famous.
Yeah. We need a movie about this. I guess when you go back to our long running conversation around like better to be killed by a shark or a bear or whatever, I guess, is this the most like up close and personal like wildlife encounter you can have, where probably there's really very low risk of anything bad happening to you other than PTSD? There's probably this,
probably.
right? What else?
What's interesting, well, I don't know, but one thing I'm thinking about now is if you became aware of what happened, I think it'd be different than if you got attacked by a shark, because that feels like the shark is purposely trying to hurt you. Even though it's not, it's just trying to eat. But it's personal, and you like, we get really like this. You're like, you made a mistake. You obviously don't know what you're doing to this whale.
This is like a vindictive whale. They're smart animals. They're like, I'm gonna go fuck with this person. Watch his buddies are down there with him, and he's like, I'm just gonna go up and swallow this guy for a second and spit him out.
It's got to be a thing where they thought it was like a killer whale, and they like, this is like something they do for territorial reasons. Well, has to be.
Actually, that's true. I'm focusing on the guy who got swallowed. Think about being the father.
Oh,
like there goes, you just watch your kid get swallowed by how do you tell mom? Yeah, sorry.
Just of all the things that you prepare for, you can't prepare for that.
Not on the list. Not on the list.
Yeah.
But that's a good one.
More stuff like that should happen though, because it's fun to talk about.
I know. Can we have more like weird animal encounters so we could talk about it on our podcast, please? How do we make this happen?
Yeah.
How do we stage it? All right, let's do our parting shot.
It's time for a party shot.
Okay.
You got a parting shot?
I do. Is it my turn to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. So I don't want this to sound
When you start putting qualifiers in what you're
well
about to
because
say.
like if I heard somebody say this thing, I'd be like, oh, dude, come on. I don't drive fast. Okay, I don't. I kind of used to. I definitely don't anymore. I just don't see the point. Whatever. I have kids. It's just a whole different world. I never drive fast. I pretty much drive the speed limit, especially in the area that I'm about to complain about, which is when I go out to surf Bolinas, a local surf spot around here. It's a beautiful drive through National Seashore. I'm not in a hurry. It's great. But like it's a 2-lane road. And so often you end up getting kind of stacked behind a car that's going like 20 miles an hour below the posted speed limit, right? Which is fine. I don't care. That's fine. I do that all the time. That's great. But you know what else I always do? Pull over in the turnouts every single time. I just don't understand how people can drive that way with just like 6 cars like on your butt who are clearly, way more aggressive than I am, And are you just not looking in your mirror? Are you like full of contempt for the other drivers? Are you scared to make the maneuver? I just don't get it. I truthfully don't get it. And again, it's not like I'm mad about it. I'm just out there driving. And usually I'll be the one that's like way behind the person that's going slow because I don't like to tailgate people. And I got a bunch of people tailgating me. And I'm like, I can't go around. Like, what do you want me to do? So I don't want to be a jerk breathing down someone's neck. But anyway, I just would say, people, look, like, just because someone's behind you doesn't mean they're a jerk or driving poorly. Like, just use the turnouts. That's why they're there. Like, you'll have a much better experience if you don't have a car like right on your butt all the way. Like, you're clearly trying to enjoy a beautiful drive. Just use your turnouts.
They got to win at driving.
I just don't. I mean, I'm more angry with people that pass even on a dotted yellow line where you can, like all aggressively. It's like, dude, we're all going to the same place. Just chill. But anyway, I guess that my parting shot is just don't be mad at people behind you because they might not be driving like jerks. You might just be driving really slow, and just use the turnouts. Everyone will be so much happier.
I think some people are oblivious to the point where they just don't even notice.
I mean, and I think that's actually my real parting shot. It's like, I don't, just look in your mirrors. Just be aware of the world around you. I mean, that's generally speaking, that's pretty good advice.
That is good advice. My parting shot. It's just a quick one to say to everyone listening, if you haven't checked out the show Outlast on Netflix, I'd give it a go. It's Outlast is a survival game show where people are dumped in the Alaska wilderness and formed into 4 teams of 4, and then they're all competing against each other to win $1 million. Competitors can leave the game at any point, but if they want to stay in, they have to remain as part of a team. And the last remaining team is the winner. So if you do something that gets you kicked off a team and you're solo, you have like 24 hours to find another team. Otherwise, you have to leave. And the show just blends the best parts of Survivor and the best parts of a show like Alone. And I think it's worth the watch. At the end of the most recent second season I watched, was only actually like 1 or 2 people that I actually liked. Everyone was kind of an asshole. But I couldn't stop watching it. And I started watching it as kind of a show like I would watch, like fall asleep on the couch at night and not really care about. And by the end, I was really invested to see what would happen. So I think a lot of these professionally produced adventure films or TV shows struggle to find the right balance of authentic outdoorsiness and then like real world appeal. And I think Outlast crushes it. So, hey, that's my parting shot. Check out Outlast on Netflix. Just a little recommendation for you today. If you got time to kill, check it out.
I wish that I understand why these shows all happen in Alaska, but I feel like they always happen in Alaska, and I'm kind of tired of them being in Alaska because it's like the same environment all the time.
I think they probably get tax credits to shoot up there.
I just sort of think there's more wilderness, or just more open space. But that could be why,
It does make this like they're always. I'm sure it's the time, whatever the time of year. It's usually like probably late summer, early fall. So it's always like 36 and wet, and they're usually
that's
like
what
on
I mean.
a bay.
And, I'm just like I don't like it. I guess part of it probably is that there's resources there to survive on. And like you don't know if that's going to be the case everywhere else.
I feel like Naked and Afraid travels around. They put those people in different environments,
other countries, I think.
But I don't get the premise of Naked and Afraid. Like I don't know. Like who cares if you're naked? Like if I were like. If you wanted to make it a survival show, you drop them off naked and make them make their own things, but they have to stay naked the whole time? Like this,
dude, of course. I mean, that's why people watch the show.
Yeah, but it's not sexy naked. It's so not sexy naked.
You know what? It's probably the kind of thing where they know a lot of people are gonna check it out at least once because they're like, ooh, are they like, am I gonna see
get it? Yeah,
or something, and then you're like, oh, I guess not, but I kind of like the show. It's just it's a great hook.
That's true.
Yeah. I've never seen a single episode of Naked and Afraid or I don't watch I don't know why I'm not that interested in these shows. It's
the outdoorsy version of those HGTV shows that
cool.
You never want to watch, but as soon as it comes on, I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll watch this.
But I feel like they're always the same. It's like, okay, now this lady's gonna like lash a bunch of logs together to make kind of like a pretty good lean-to. Like I couldn't do that, and she's doing it, and that's cool. but I've seen it. You know?
I think that what I liked about Outlast was the team element of it, and the
Yeah,
fact
that
that
is
like it
neat,
starts as
yeah.
4 people, then they can kind of like some people like defect and try to go to other teams, and you got to play it in your head like, well, if there's 4 of us who win, we got to split the money 4 ways. So like it's a I don't know. I think it's it's a good
Would
show.
you do a show like that if you were approached? I wouldn't be surprised if you were.
This one I would do because it seems like there comes a point when then there's down to like a certain number of people and they have like an event to finish the game. A show like Alone where you really could be out there for like a year. No. My time's more valuable than any money I can make winning that game. Not interested. I'm not a survival guy.
I believe me realize why you can't do this for all sorts of legal reasons and ethical and moral reasons. But these shows to me would all be way more interesting if it was just like us. Or even someone who never camps. You have to kind of camp at least a little bit. But like, I get the point of like, let's get some like real prepper type survivalists out there and show off their cool skills. I get that. That's awesome. I'm way more interested though in like what someone like me would have to come up with. You know, like I don't know how to make any of that stuff. I don't know how to build a fire without a source, like a flame source, like all that kind of thing. It'd be kind of like, would I even make it 2 days before I had to tap out? That would be kind of neat.
I think like the winner of the first season alone was like they were out there for like 58 days or something like that. And then like subsequent seasons when people were like, oh, real survival people started getting on, it was like 150 days.
Yeah, they're starting towns.
There was one guy the first season who was like talking all sorts of shit and didn't even make it through like the first night.
I think
he's just like,
I may have seen this then. I may have seen part of this because I remember that. Like, well,
I loved that.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, what is this?
Yeah.
What did I sign up for? No, I'm out. Take me out.
No, I mean, I'm not interested in doing it. I'll tell you that much. But I would like to see just kind of regular folks in a situation where they have to figure out how to make it work.
Justin's like, where's my antimatter chair? Bring me my antimatter chair. I got
Yeah, where's the there's somewhere to get a beer here, right? I mean, honestly, that would be a lot of it. Like if there was like like for some random reason, like a pub you could go to get a beer, and then you had to go then you had to go back to survivaling. I could probably make it a little bit longer that way.
Just the car camping version of Alone, It's like,
yeah,
you go to town to get a pizza and a beer, but you got to go back to your camp at night.
I could do it. I think I could do it.
Yeah, I'd be all right.
I'll be all right.
Yeah, I can barely make it to lunchtime. I get hungry. There's no way I can make it like days without food.
But that's the thing. Don't you want to know what you'd end up eating? Like that'd be kind of neat. Like at what point does like that bug start looking tasty? At what point are you like, all right, I somehow caught a rat. I guess I'll eat it.
I just don't think I'd be able to.
Yeah, frankly, I know you couldn't.
I definitely couldn't.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
All right, that's the show today. Come back on Friday for my reaction to the Outdoor Market Alliance media event. Remember, it will be up later in the day on Friday. We want your emails, especially to this episode. Send them to myrockfight@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. And take the survey. Like Justin said, it's linked on our website. It's linked in the show notes, and it'll be in the newsletter going forward until we're done running that survey. The Rock Fight's a production of Rock Fight LLC for Justin Hausman. I'm Colin Truth. Thanks for listening. And here to take us out, he hasn't been laid off yet. Not from the Rock Fight anyway. Krista Makes. He's going to sing the Rock Fight song. We have a lifetime contract with him. And we'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Bye.
Rock Fight.